Start off with Ryan playing poorly, which is pretty standard, but
pretty standard. Pretty,
how to help him.
I need some assistance. All right, so we are playing 50 cent $1 online in Bryce's X Poker Club. As always, a little quick reminder that if you guys want to hop into the game and play with us and possibly get into a hand that ends up on this show, please shoot us a DM either at the All In Poker Podcast or at Bad Beat Bryce or at Ryan the Rock. We'll get you squared away. We'll get you in those games. They're a lot of fun. They're great action. You could, the 1-2 plays like a 2-5 and the 51 plays like a 1-2. So, whatever you're comfortable with, we've got. It's a really good time.
Absolutely.
Plug over. Okay. So moving on to
Big Slick.
We have Big Slick here on the button. Just a, ideal position to be in with this particular hand. And Under the Gun villain raises to 4 off of a $200 stack. On the Gun 1 calls. Butterfly 88 calls. And I'm here with Ace King. So we got 4x open Under the Gun, 2 overcallers. This seems like a pretty ideal spot to put in a squeeze. And we can make it nice and large to try to... It's going to be interesting because if one limper calls, I think we might get all... Or sorry, if the Under the Gun player calls, I think we might get 4 ways, and that's not particularly great with Ace King off, but I don't think there's any merit to flatting the button.
So before we go to the squeeze, which I absolutely agree with, how are we playing Ace Queen? And Ace Queen suited, let's say you got Ace Queen of diamonds. How are you playing it?
I would say that in that position, it's definitely closer versus Under the Gun open and these 2 flatters in the middle, but I think there's so much dead money out there that I don't know if I'm doing it in full, but I'm definitely going to 3-bet all my suited Ace Queen. And
who is the villain in this specific hand?
I think the Under the Gun villain is like a newer guy, one of the people who had just joined into the club. I would have put his name if I really knew who it was. So this guy, I don't really have any super big reads on.
Okay.
Yeah, which is kind of we'll definitely lead into decision making later on. Or factor in it.
So I'm going to try to guess his sizing. All right, 21. I'm not going to guess his sizing. So absolutely, we have to go, considering we're in position, we have to go at minimum 3x plus 1x because the additional limpers. So plus the 2 additional callers there, it's at least 5x. So at the minimum, he's going to be going 20 and he goes 21. So 21 is fine.
Yeah,
I think especially off the stack depths, people aren't that like if people had 2,000 in front of them, I mean, sure, we could make it 25 to 30, but considering people stacked up, I think the sizing's fine. And let's see what happens.
Still 200 big blinds deep,
I'm gonna assume it folds to the initial raiser, and
nope,
calls.
Yeah, exactly. Folds to the initial raiser. That's a good point. Yes, initial raiser calls, Under the Gun 1 folds, and hijack flats. So we are headed 3 ways in position to a flop of Deuce, Jack, 10 with 2 hearts, the Jack and the 10 of hearts.
How do you feel about having the King of Hearts in your hand?
Yeah, it checks to me, and we do possess the King of Hearts in our hand. Although I don't really think I think that makes this even more of a check back than it does a barrel. I think if we had the Ace of Hearts in hand, I think it's perfectly fine to start a bet here because you have the nut backdoor draw and you have immediate outs to a queen. So I think you probably should be starting a bet with that because it's pretty unlikely that the hijack has like jacks and 10s when they overcall here because they're overcalling an Under the Gun open and Under the Gun 1 flat. So I think they're really condensed. So I think they have like 6s through 9s, maybe some suited.
We're not really worried about butterfly.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to.
I completely agree. Really a lot of middling pairs, some suited wheel aces, stuff of that variety.
Yeah.
So we're really just worried about the Under the Gun player. I definitely like a check here. for the reasons you described exactly. I'm very curious as to what you bet because you told me you messed up virtually every street.
Well, I told you I messed up the later street, so I did opt to check.
Oh, okay, we checked.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
So I told you, like you said.
So are you telling me we just start barreling on a brick turn? Oh, that'll be fun. That makes sense.
Come on.
Oh, how do you?
I'm Ryan the Rock.
You do not check this turn.
No.
You do not check this turn. I would have been so upset.
Here's where I make the big mistake. Okay, so Under the Gun villain leads out for 46 into 68.
Okay.
Hijack folds and it's back
check
to me.
Check raise this dude.
We should just. It's not a check raise. We would just be raising.
Or
but
not check. Sorry, I meant jamming his face.
It should just be piling it in here.
Yeah.
Like 100 times out of 100, I should just be piling it in here. Like they can have 2 pair, they can have flush draws. Like what
he can have
what can we accomplish by calling?
He can have a set of 10s. He can have a set of jacks.
Yeah.
He can have. He can't a king queen of hearts.
I really honestly have no idea what was going through my mind when I was calling this bet.
I don't think there's merit for any other option unless we had exactly ace king of hearts. We still block. No, it still doesn't make any sense. We still jam. I don't see a spot where we don't jam this. I just don't.
Yeah, because we don't block any of the pairs. It's not. I feel like it's different if we have like king queen with the king of hearts, because obviously we didn't turn the nuts. Like we didn't turn the nuts.
Then calling sure, because he has a
then you can
ton of 2 pairs, and we just want to try to realize our equity. But with ace king here, we should never ever like I'm pretty sure 0% against any player. We should be just flatting it.
Yes. And especially with the stack sizes, like I have no idea how I didn't just assess this situation and be like, he doesn't like. I guess that's part of the problem that I have with online poker is that the quick decision making processes sometimes trip me up, and I think this is one of those spots where it happened, where like I may not have taken a time bank with this hand, and I 100% should have, because if given the time to think about it, I 100% should have found a jam here. But I think I just went to my default because I was trying to act quickly within the 20 seconds, and I may have just flatted this. I don't know exactly what was going through my head, but that's I think a reasonable assessment as to why I may have just.
Okay, that's fine.
We put in the call. River's the ace of hearts.
He jams, we call, he has some heart variety.
No, even worse. Even worse. He bets the same thing.
Nice.
And
how do you respond?
We just again, I just decide to pile it.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't think that's fine though.
Why? Because what hearts does he have?
Here was my rationale at the time, and then I'll tell you why I don't like it.
8-9 of hearts, 8-9 of hearts, 7-8 of hearts are the only combos he has in my mind.
Okay.
Only combos.
Right. That's fair.
What else does he have? He has like two hands. And I mean, what the question is, what do we beat that's betting? Exactly. We're trying to blow him off a chop. If we had ace king, no heart, just flat. Because we have the heart.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, with the nut blocker here, I think this
but
is
the thing is, the blocker isn't that massive because what combos do we have with the king of hearts? That's the issue.
Other than the royal flush, literally.
Yeah.
Which I get it. I'm definitely piling with royal flush, but it's one combo. Yeah. Literally,
there's one combo. Yeah, exactly. So we jam. What does he have? He calls, I'm assuming, or this.
He ends up snapping us off with 6 of hearts.
You need to tell me which player this is so that I can mark them as a massive whale.
Yeah. I'll have to go look that up.
Queen 6 of hearts, open call for 10% of our stack. Was he 200 effective or was he?
Yeah, he was 200 effective pre. Yeah, something like that. Maybe. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
just bad.
Yeah, you played this bad, but I think you played it bad, and I think you played it bad for all the different reasons.
I think the turn is particularly atrocious. I think you just there's just so much that is just gonna snap you off, and you have the nuts and what? Like it just doesn't make any sense to call on the turn.
100%.
But I think the river, I get what you're saying. Like I think my rationale is fine enough to jam here because we just think he has a king and he's just trying to get to showdown with it. And we have the nut blocker, so fuck it.
Sure. We have a ton of hands for you guys, so we're probably going to move on from this one.
Yep.
If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to put it in the chat. But on this next hand, again, a Ryan hand I have not seen. We have pocket fives in the big blind. Let's see what happens.
Yep. So this is the slightly bigger game. This is the 1-2 game. 7-16 deep. Things are going great. Folds to Benny Diamonds in Under the Gun 2, who opens to $8. Gets called the low jack. Folds around to us. I don't think there's anything else to do here but call. I think that raising is a total spew. In my opinion, I just don't. It doesn't make any sense,
especially against a sticky player like Benny Diamonds. I mean, this would be bad anyways, but this is horrible against Ben because Ben specifically is very sticky. So if it's a board that we try to rep, that it's just like Ace King 9, he's gonna call you down with King Queen. Like he's gonna call you down. So like. Definitely just call.
Because that's the thing about this hand is it's not a hand that has like any really great properties. You know, on the flop, like you're either going to flop a set or you're really not going to flop a strong hand with hands like 5s, 4s, 3s, and deuces.
Yeah.
So like, there's really not a great argument for going super polar with them in situations like this because like it's just going to be so hard to realize your equity, even if you are against like 2 overcards or something on the flop. Like they're just going to have lots of outs and they're probably going to pick up more, and it's just going to be really hard to navigate. So I think we go with the easier option. We just call. Flop. Very gorgeous for us. We flop bottom set on a really, really ideal flop for it too. You know, ace high, rainbow. We check Benny Diamonds right into us for 13. I mean, it sounds like a pretty generic sizing. Here's one of the things I find is that I think a lot of people, here's how a thing that I can tell about people, like one of those things that allows me to immediately mark someone as like maybe not a super good player is when they're just auto c-betting half pot on the flop. I was guilty of that for a very long time.
Testosterone is very, very guilty of this. Even if the board is deuce 6-10, he's going half pot to 2/3 because he thinks you're just going to call him with like your ace high. He's trying to deny equity, but he's assuming you're stupid. Like,
and I think a lot of it is because it's just they're just betting. They're just betting to bet, and I'm a victim of this as well. Or I've been doing this as well. If you're a recreational poker player, the way that you're going to step up your game is to think of why you are betting. If you do not have a purpose in what you are doing, you got to have a plan. You cannot bet without a plan because that's just how you get into all the spots that tilt you at the end of the day, or when you do something and you have no plan. So have a plan. Benny decides to bet half pot here. G Money gets out of the way. And I think we have a pretty easy just call here. I don't really think we have to raise. I think we're gonna get a lot of turn cards that are gonna like pick up, we would have hands that would pick up equity or something. So then we can find a better opportunity to check raise and keep going with an ace. But yeah, I mean, I think you can check raise this flop. I just think it's better if it's ace 8-5 with a flush draw.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we decided to put in the call.
I definitely prefer a call to a raise. If this had a flush draw on it, we'd be raising at a much higher frequency. Yeah. But I mean, what are we repping exactly? From the big blind, I mean, we could have literally anything. We could have 5-8 suited, we could have ace-8, we could have ace-5. And we do have more 2-pair combos than him. But I think our plan on this flop should be to check raise virtually any turn. So that was the idea. Yeah. So we just put in the call.
And turn comes beautiful 3 of clubs. This is the greatest thing.
It's better for us too because we have more ace 3s. I mean, again, it's not. I mean, he still has ace 3s and ace 5s as well, of the suited variety mainly. But we're just going to check raise the shit out of him, and he's going to be betting here a lot. And I'm interested in what he bets. He's probably going to go like 30, 35, 37.
All right, so we do put in the check, and he bets 26.
All right, that was small. So what are you going to do here? Obviously, we're going to leverage stacks, but what sizing are we going to go for?
I'm glad you asked. I wanted to be really purposeful with the way that I sized this, and I went very small and on purpose because he has $141 back. So I opt to go to 62.
We want his ace 9s to just go broke, and if we just rip it in his face right now, he's not going to call. I mean, his ace 9 shouldn't call this anyway, but.
Right. I think it's like his ace 10 plus should be, is very likely to be calling this, especially it's Benny Diamonds, and he can have,
Poker Bunny is on her way. She was getting her nails done and we decided to do the backhand portion of it before the front hand portion. So she will be here shortly. We are just killing time by flipping the script a little bit. But yeah, all right. So we elect to raise. I'm assuming Benny Diamonds decides to at least call. What does he decide to do, Ryan?
Yeah. So he actually decides to go ahead and stick.
So he rips it with ace king or ace queen, I'm sure, and we call.
Yeah, I mean, obviously easy snap. River rolls off.
Oh no, I forgot about this hand.
And
I
Benny
forgot
turns
that's what he
over
had.
2 jacks. And we don't have any idea. I have no idea.
That's a head scratcher.
That is a head scratcher. It's like, don't really know what he thought he was getting me off. You don't block anything. Literally nothing. You don't block anything. You have a club in your hand. Like I don't understand.
This hand would be a lot more interesting if we had it from Benny Diamond's perspective, because I want to know what he's thinking. Because generally, min clicks off of an SPR that makes it look like they're trying to get it in. The vast majority of the time, it's strength.
They're trying to get it in.
Majority. So what? I mean, yeah, with jacks, we're not going to fold to any river if we call this turn. But why the fuck are we calling this turn?
Yeah. Yeah, especially why are we sticking it in on the turn?
I'm going to need to have a conversation with Benny Diamonds on this one, but let's go to the next hand.
Yep. So last hand from this session. This one's a quick one, but I think it's a really interesting spot to go over. So we're a little bit earlier on in the evening, and Paul raises... I'm sorry, this is a straddled pot. So we can't show straddles on this hand replayer, so he's chose as a raise, but he is straddled. It folds to me, and I'm in the hijack, king, queen off, opt to open to 12, fine and standard. Don't think there's anything to say there. Folds around to Paul, and he opts to put in the call. Flop comes 8-3 deuce with 2 spades. We have the queen of spades in hand, and Paul goes ahead and he donks for $14.
I hate his donk here because if he does have a set of deuces, set of threes, he should absolutely be checking because we could be folding a lot of our hands here. So I think I lean it heavily towards either being an 8x hand that's looking to deny or for protection, or it's a hand that just says you don't have anything. You either have an overpair or air, and I'm going to try to blow you off of it. But it's weird because I think Paul thinks that this is really range advantageous to him, but it's not.
Right.
Like, that's what he thinks. Oh, it doesn't have high cards. That's a board that favors me, but it doesn't. So I don't think he's nutted here, but I think he has some low to medium strength hand that is trying to just bet for protection. So I think he has a lot of fours through sevens, 8-9, 10-8, 6-8, 7-8, obviously. But yeah, I think we're just gonna call here. I think there's no sense in raising at all. If we had king queen of spades and had 2 overs as well as the flush draw, I think this would be fine. But I think you're just going to float him here with king queen and try to spike a king or a queen, or just see how the board texture develops.
I agree. I think if you talked to me 3 months ago, I probably would have just folded this flop to the donk.
You would have snap folded.
Yeah.
You would have been like, oh, thanks for letting me get off for cheap. Goodbye.
Yeah, easy. Yeah. And so now I sat here, and when this happened, I kind of went through the same thing where I don't think he's donking with deuces and threes. I think he just checked to me because he knows I'm going to bet like a lot on this board. So I read this donk as either an 8x for protection or a flush draw. And that was really my thought process.
Flush draws too. Sorry for not mentioning that.
Yeah. That was the one thing that you missed. I was like, oh, everything I thought exactly the same as you, except I was like, oh, I think he's got a lot of flush draws. Yeah. But that is a very easy donk range for people.
He does, but I actually like check raising my flush draws more, especially if it's of the 9-10 suited jack. Like if it's 2 overs and flush draws, I don't see why we're betting here. Check raise.
Yeah, check raise, and then barrel turn, barrel river, because you're going to put more money in the pot. There's just so many advantages to doing it that way.
I just don't get like how this is ever balanced enough to the point where we should be betting.
Yeah, like, I get what you're saying.
If I have an overpair here, if I have 10s, I'm check raising the shit out of you. And what are you going to do with your ace-8, your 10-8? You're probably going to call, but you just lit money on fire, and you're going to have problems navigating future streets because you put money in the pot, which it's pretty damn obvious that you're capped. You're capped, bro.
Like I read this face up as what it was, Like,
I mean, I don't know what he has.
Do this into a lot of people, and like don't do this to me. So I call. And the turn comes the 8 of diamonds. So I think it's a great card because it cuts down on his 8x in general. So now I think I really...
He's not shutting down. I know Paul. He's not shutting down.
No, of course not. So he bets 33. He bets 2/3 pot, which I was kind of expected. And I decide that now is the time to turn on the aggression and stick in the raise.
I like a raise way more than a flat on this card.
Yeah. Because we can float
Especially if we don't
flop
have
and
a
take
spade.
one off.
We
you
don't
know?
even have ace high. Like,
Right.
it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he could be doing this with ace X with the ace of spades. Like, he
Right.
could do this with ace 5 with just one spade, in which he now has to fold to this, which he also has the gutter ball, but he's folding. Yeah, I'm interested in,
Because that's the thing. Exactly.
I'm assuming
what you
he
said, right?
folds, and I'm assuming you just put this hand so I could gas you up, but let's see what happens. I want him to call to make this more interesting. What happens?
No, he does fold.
Damn.
And I mean, this hand was great because it put him on monkey tilt. I immediately showed, and he was lighting up the chat. Like, oh, you're terrible. Like, that's a horrible. Like, what a spew. And I was like, look, like the reason why this is such a good play is exactly what you said. Is that we don't have ace high. We have a very much so a no showdown value hand. So it's not really a hand that we can float again when there's only one card to come. And we can only really hit 6 cards that improve our hand. And some of them are going to be spades, or I'm sorry, really the king of spades. So like there's only 5 cards we're happy with.
Exactly.
5 out of 44, that's not a really decent odds that you're going to hit a card you're going to like. So let's just put some pressure on him here. And then we can evaluate rivers. Like maybe we're bluffing on spade rivers. Maybe we're definitely bluffing on like big cards. Jack, 10, obviously king or queen, Yeah. Questionable if we barrel an ace, but if it's the ace of spades, probably. So that is the shotgun version of my session. These were really the 3 most interesting hands from that session.